Naoto Hieda, and the second artist is Jorge Guevara. Together, Jorge and Naoto created best practices in contemporary dance. And in this, they question the productive aspect of coding to speculate with its new form. Naoto is based in Cologne with a background in engineering, and he's currently enrolled in Diplom 2 at Kunsthochschule für Medien. Jorge Guevara is a Colombian artist based in Brussels. His work lies in the intersection of interface technologies and sociology with a strong body-oriented approach. Coming from a master's degree in contemporary dance, he studies multimedia and communication technology. And by the way, he's just coming straight from the Ars Electronica. He was the last week in Trenton from 8 to 12 September. We're very happy that he joined us here. Welcome now to both of you. The floor is yours, and afterwards we have a very small chat together.
Super. Okay, so thank you guys for being here, even who are online. I'm Jorge. So I think briefly I would like to invite to, for the time, the duration time that we will have, there is about an hour I think, to be comfortable with uncertainty and that we share together the uncertainty, because we certainly don't know. So as a first act, as a symbolic act, I would like to invite us to take just 2 minutes to be here, and so to be silent and then just acknowledging the body. So not only us, but the technicians and everybody, just to take 2 minutes where, I mean, you do what you need to do, but I propose that just give space for your body and just, if you need, close your eyes. Okay, so this will be from now. Okay, thank you very much. So, welcome back. We are here now, I think.
Yeah.
But now,
Welcome, everyone. Everyone on Twitch.
So maybe by the way, like, so as a kind of, there is some QR codes that you will see behind each of the columns. There is a QR, those are QR codes, and they will prompt you to this Google document. There is this part of how we deal And it's an invitation basically to, there is also some useful links like the main website of our practice, there's an academic paper, some more background of the practice.
Do you think I can also post it on Twitch?
Yes?
Maybe, because on YouTube, I know that if you post URL, it will be rejected. Unfortunately. But I'll try.
So, I mean, we did this in part because we were having the discussion with Naoto of how to not share. I mean, I didn't want to justify my presence with my credentials, telling you how good or bad I am depending on your eyes. And also, although the framework that we have developed that is about digital dance and technology is called Best Practice in Contemporary Dance, and it's contained in two parts, a practice and a chat. We were invited here to do a chat, which is the rational aspect of the practice. If you want to get more information of what the practice is, I think rather than me telling you what is it, it's in a presentation mode, then you guys can use the QR code where you can find the main website, an academic paper, and all the information you need.
Yeah, maybe you can open the page, the main page, that has some videos. I don't know what was the last one. Yeah, that was an Impulse almost, no, more than a month, 2 months ago almost.
That was in the Impulse.
So maybe you can just play it so to get some idea of it, because I think it's really random. Sorry, I often forget I have my.
So basically, this is the practice, and then that's the main. This serves as a canvas. From there, you can find hyperlinks. So this was the last presentation in the Impulse Dance period. I would like to say that. I wouldn't like to speak more about it. But here you can find, if you see there is then we find the archive of the practice and also an archive in the chat. Basically, at this point, we have more than 148 hours of digital content that you can find in YouTube. So you can find different hyperlinks. Also, you can find different websites that we have. Also, if you click in this library thesis, that you go to this. This was my master thesis that I did on the project. So it's an academic paper. You can download it and do what you want with it. Okay, so if it's okay with you, I think I would like to go back to the chat. This is what we're doing.
So we have the document. We usually don't take notes because we record it, and if we need it, we watch it or we take notes individually, but it's not like a collective note. But today we'll just try a collective note for us, but also for you to see it real time and maybe write down if anything you want to say. Also, you can just, maybe write your contacts, write your work, so you can claim that you presented at New Now, which is awesome. I don't know if anyone got it, but the thing is, we don't have slides because the whole point is that we do it on the fly, we do it improvisationally and no agenda, right?
Yeah, but I will maybe underline that it comes from, in the research is the research has the bodies at the bottom, right? It's at the core of everything. So as an art of resilience, we don't know, and we try to stay in the don't know place. We try to glitch we favor the glitch and the error. So rather than use patriarchal, as the previous speaker was saying, intention where you have to know what are you doing in this world. So we try to insist in a format that is not pretending to have a performance at the end. So it's just a framework. And because we have been insisting in not knowing, at the end somehow you know something that maybe is useful for somebody knows. Certainly it has helped me a lot with my own things. Nevertheless, I try to not hijack what I do and stay my identities. I try to not politicize, but it's not my intention to do political art. Say for instance, like today, what's his name? Johnny, an artist from Brussels. His work, I really appreciate that some people do this kind of thing, that they have like, they really believe in some idea and try to do some political intention with it. But my intention with doing my art is not political. I think in doing art, if I do art in a proper way, then it will just express the expression. Meaning that it will not try to tell you what you have to think, but it might just portray and pass by things. Therefore, I would say this is not a performance. Let's say the practice itself is more a performance, but this is nevertheless a performative act. There is a difference, because the performance, it will deal with identities very much, but the performative act, it stays close to the dance, which is more expressing the expression. In that sense, you can compare it with experiencing sound. When you experience dance or experience sound, it's just an embodied experience that exists in the now. Before and after, there is just comments.
Well, I don't know, sorry I didn't listen, but when you say like...
Jorge didn't listen.
No, but I listened to that other part. You said it's not, we don't do political things, but that, like the image I had was like, okay, so we're so pure that we have a canvas and we just draw flowers, and that's like maybe that's really political, but the thing is like whatever we do is political. So that's like something that's kind of, we have to acknowledge that we do something for fun, and maybe we draw flowers, but whatever we do, it is political, right?
But that's what I mean with that, like the body, Foucault was like, he expressed a long time ago, like the body's political. You like, the fact that I am here, it's just political. And I want to underline that I'm from Colombia and so on. So, I don't want to go even there. So, it's just the body's political. So, in a way, this is coming from a book they call The Glitch Feminism, that it says like, actually she quoted from somewhere else, I don't know what it was exactly. But it says like, we already passed by the place of like, should I be here? I am here. So be. So therefore, since I am here and I can be here, then it's more up to me what I do with my presence here. So then I'm interested that in my presence is like, I try to renounce in a way, or trying to challenge the unity that I was given as a body, and the assumption that I receive as a taxonomical assumptions about my gender and stuff like that. And it's an ongoing process. But it's not political. You cannot avoid politics. That's what I'm trying to say, is the body is political. But nevertheless, like my intention with my approach as choreographer is like to then find ways. One way is like the best practices is then to circumvent my identities.
Yeah, the thing is that it's a little bit like a meta of like this chat, because it's about best practices in contemporary dance, and we do move and code, and that's about like the dance and technology, all these things that we do as a hands-on. But before talking about all these technical things, for example, or I don't know what we learn from the practice itself, we have to kind of start with something that is, even before talking about best practices in contemporary dance, that we have to talk about the politics, or like I don't know, like why we do this, why we are here, for example, like because we don't have to be here, like we just like upload videos, and of course it's nice to have visibility. I don't know actually why people present at for installation, you have to show it somewhere. So I think it makes sense to do it. But at the conference, I mean, it's a bit tricky because
I think the networking is at the core.
yeah.
So that's politics.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So I mean, you see, like you cannot avoid politics. That's why I think intentionally, at least I try to. It's just like boycott myself. I try to brainwash myself, like do not say politics, do not speak about your Colombianity, or like do not go about your gender. I will go there because this is me. But then I have a clear intention to try to do something more and not just that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like this area is very German. It's not Berlin. It's not like a big city, and like that. Like being here already, triggers something. I mean, the festival is really nice. I think it's really well curated. But of course, like we can talk about, how is the ratio of, like race or, I mean, gender-wise, I think it's.
Yeah, I mean, I was just so, I just came back from the Ars Electronica. We were still like, should I
talk about it?
I don't want, like, should we try that? So no, but the thing is that, said it was my first opportunity to be in Ars Electronica. So it was like a dream for me, like to show my work there. And then, so I have all these expectations about, wow, this is Ars Electronica. And all of them, they were that or more in terms of work, network. But then my personal side, in Leeds, I was like, wow, this is just so dead. And it was like, there's nothing for me here. What am I doing here? What are you guys doing here? And then of course, because sisters find each other, then I found the only queer aspect of the festival, which was launched only this year, after only 20 years that are running. This year they opened Pink Network, it's part of the Ars Electronica, and they even didn't mention it in the festival because it's not important for them. Nevertheless, I found it, and of course I really connect with them. So what I'm trying to share with this is like, I think it's also more close to the art and science community, which is different than the art and new media community. Art and science community, because it's very close to the science base, it puts the body really far away in terms of like, we are gonna fix humanity. But they don't realize that we are humanity. And it's very difficult. So I work with this collective, SEEDS, which stands for Space, Ecology, Art and Design. And sometimes we have collaboration with the European Space Agency, with space projects. So it's a really scientific-based collective. And I have the same feeling. So I just confirmed that feeling when I went to Ars Electronica. These scientists who really have a good intention to work, they just put the body, it's like we are gonna fix humanity somehow. But then it's humanity is there. Humanity is us. That's what I proposed at the beginning, to take 2 minutes to just acknowledge that you are here. That we are here and that my presence is influence us. So yeah, the body is important.
I always talk about this, but I used to organize a lot. Last year I was organizing a lot of online events during COVID, and of course there's this weird awkward moment happens, no one's talking, and I really like it because I'm ASCII and I'm autistic, but the thing is that when no one talks, then some people think it's super awkward, and I do feel awkward as well. But I think it's so rich that it's I'm not looking at the clock and I have 30 slides left, but I just being chill and look at the audience and just enjoying this moment is so nice, and having this conference 1 hour of time for us is so generous. And thank you for the organizers. It sounds like a closing comment, but I just want to say it because it's nice. And we can experiment with these things because we have a stage, and I think we have trust. It's Vesela here. She's not here.
Initially, she was going to bring have a drink.
Yeah.
I was confident in
so,
that.
And she's drinking, and while she's not here, I think we can do anything. And
I think what is cool is like, so we have never been in this situation before. We do this chat, and basically we do it sometimes 3 times per week for 1 year. Sometimes we don't do it in 1 month because then I'm busy or he's busy. But this is the first time that we had the possibility to be on the stage, basically. Not as a performance, but as I mentioned, this is we don't speak like this when we don't have the microphone when you guys look. So it is a performative act. It's not a performance. So this is interesting.
But we didn't frame it as lecture performance, and I think it's good that we didn't.
No, because it's not a performance. For me, it's not a performance.
Yeah, but this is like also like a question because we started to frame that. So what we do as a practice is a practice that we meet for 1 hour and we do whatever with movement or code or whatever with computers, and but it doesn't have to be functional. Like we don't expect to have like nice images, nice choreography. I don't know what nice choreography is, but it's not that we go to like perfection, but we just try it. And if we fail, that's okay. We do it again, so it's okay. Why am I saying this? Because I forgot. What were we talking about? Not awkward thing. Anyways, we can fail, and it's nice that we have a stage where we can actually fail.
Yeah. Actually, something we can share is like, so basically we meet like more than 1 year ago online, and then we start just doing something. And we didn't know what was it. Just like, we have this interest in coding and dance, and then we start basically keep on meeting, and at some point we say like, wow, this is kind of something. And we end up with best practices in contemporary dance as a kind of inside joke, because if you speak in the contemporary dance field, you will never say that there is a best practice in somatic practices, right? It's just, there you can say that.
I mean, like if you imagine ballet, there's like something that you would, you think that something is beautiful, but in contemporary dance it can be anything. And that's why like there is no one best practice.
In body practices, let's say. But on the other side, we have in technology, and when I was finishing my studies in interaction design, then it was, you have best practices in coding. And it was back in time that I was working with him, that I was studying best practices in objective-oriented languages. So then I just thought, best practices in contemporary dance, as a provocative something in between. And when we were in the impulse dance, just 2 weeks, a few weeks ago, people were so mad, like, what do you mean with best practices in contemporary dance?
Because they are working with contemporary dance. And then we come in and we say, that, okay, we're the best. No, we're not saying that, but it sounds like that.
But then somebody said, like, if you use the hashtag, it just changes the assumption of, like, that's the best. Anyway, yay, thank you so much. That's like this me.
So once I was doing, it's not even research, that's Google search, but looking for like articles writing about best practices, and I just pasted it here. Like for example, like best practices for writing R code. So it's very concrete, and there should be a best practice, because if everyone's writing R code in like really different ways, then it's really hard to follow, and that's happens with bad code in general, I think. And not just R, but C or JavaScript.
Yeah.
So that's why there's like best practices. Also, there's like best practices in business management. This is more like I don't really know if it's really best practices, because if you look at the article that says engage workers, reward effort, be vulnerable, blah blah, it's really generic. We can still talk about these things. Like we can best practice in contemporary dance, like be yourself.
Be yourself.
Maybe the best practice is to turn off the screensaver at least.
Be nice with yourself. Wait, so I think maybe for the people who just joined, guys, there at the back part of each column, there's a QR code where you can start interacting with this document if you wish page. Also, there are some handy things like the main website is like a hyperlink PhD thing. It's going in the sense of like there's a lot of hyperlinks, let's say, in yeah.
Yeah,
and
this is like.
And also, you have an academic paper that is really, if you really need to know why and about scientific reason, then you can find some paper.
This is like what I like about this like recent kind of trend in net art that is kind of going back to like the beginning of the internet, basically like try to use like more hyperlinks and like web linking that used to be a thing like I don't know like early 2000 I don't know, but now like some cool people do it because that's like a way to bypass the whole problem with social media, for example, because basically you don't use it, but you connect with other people. Yeah, so we use a lot of hyperlinks. But he's using social media, so this video broke him on Instagram, I think.
Yeah, now.
What am I want to say?
Yeah,
Not important.
Everybody want to say very important. What? So I think what we do in a way works because we were not planning to work, basically. So because of that, then the labor part of the work is gone, and it just becomes something that we create. Basically, the space is basically a space of healing that we found, where we were having this conversation today with Jan. Is that what it's a space for healing, basically, where you, in my case, I'm very happy to not be Jorge, like to not be one person. Then I have the excuse to go to the best practices, to exercise and self-dissociation, and then become an audiovisual body. Say.
Can you scroll up a bit?
Yeah. Where?
I don't know. Where?
Oh, we have more people.
Yes, thank you for I have to acknowledge Anonymous Wolf, Anonymous Ferret, Anonymous Worm, and Anonymous Chameleon. This is actually quite interesting, like that like if you go to like Google Docs or like other tools, like sometimes they use like animal as like an anonymous user. And that's kind of, I don't know if it's a beautiful, like a smart way of bypassing, but like basically there's no gender, there's no race. Well, actually that's not true because an animal belongs to, like they have origin. So it's not exactly, but maybe because of how we picture animal, it's not like, like we don't really see the real animal, but it's icons here, so something, it doesn't, if I appear as a kangaroo, it doesn't mean that I'm from Australia. So maybe that's...
Well, did you put this, like best practices from conservation of media art?
Yeah, that's what I argued basically.
Well,
I did the research.
I do the house for this thing.
And also, like, I think it's really important that the talk becomes so boring. Not because we are talking a lot, but we don't know what we're saying. So, like, I don't know. Maybe this is too early for questions.
But also, at any point, if somebody wants to, because normally, the chat is like, I'm going to paraphrase how I presented in my school. But the chat aspect is the time when the two of us comes together and something we might guess try to ground and theorize the practice. This is literally comes from that paper. I know by heart. So weird. Anyway, so this is the space that if somebody, we're speaking from our truth. This is not in no way an absolute truth. Nevertheless, this is what we experience and we share it with you with no assumptions. But so I was trying to say that, we try to favor.
I think that's the important point, but before that I want to say that I don't know if you were drinking and if it's a tourist or not, but in our practice in the chat is that it's not that we try to try to agree, but we listen to each other and acknowledge, and if like some things that I don't agree with what Jorge says, but it's okay as long as it's not harmful to me. And that's also like for the audience as well. And that's, I think, difficult in this setting because if we're just on YouTube and you're watching the YouTube video, actually I didn't think about this before, but then you can always skip it, or like you can think that, okay, I don't agree with this person, so maybe you can download. But if this is streamed on the conference, or if you're here, then clearly the hierarchy that we're
that's why basically you're trying to break the hierarchy, not as an act of being like rebellious, but it's just. Well, I mean, I don't want to start like I don't want to have to show you my credentials again. Like, am I worth it enough for you guys to be here? So, but maybe going back a little bit to what you were saying. So basically, the practice. One of the aspects that's very important for me is that we try to give agency back to the user. So instead of telling the user what is interesting, in a way, so it's something. The practice itself is in the space. So not that this is the chat. The practice is in the space that it lingers at the threshold of exciting and forgetting. That it never interferes with the user, but it holds him just enough, but it will never interfere to tell what is very interesting for the user to see. So sometimes we do live streams of 7 hours. So, and that's in purpose, because we are not, if somebody's watching that non-stop for 7 hours, then I will feel that I'm failing somehow. But so we do that so long is because we are trying to give back agency. Like, you tell me what is there for you. I don't try to just like show you the best 5 minutes that I have in the 7 hours. And that's important because it's trying to give back the agency, not only as a user but as a human. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think what could be really interesting with that idea and this setup is like not that we're giving a talk, but how, well, that's a little bit pretentious, like how do we inspire other people? What do you take, but not inspire, but like what do you get from this, and like how do you transform it? Well, that's a lot, but
No, but I will feel comfortable with like saying by inspired. Like, it's not that I'm trying to be a good model or world model. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm drinking right now on stage. Like, so it's not my intention to be I'm just trying to be close as I can to understand what my body needs, as much as I can take my space, since I have been not the one who can take the space. I will claim my space and I will guard it, because I have been. Let us go to the dentist. I'm not going to the dentist. Anyway, I'm claiming my body and my space, and I'm grounded. And because I'm grounding my body, then I will share it with. I will start with queer people, and then so on and so on, in order to spread love somehow. It's no intention arrogant. It's just me trying to be myself, because I don't know what is this that is me.
Yeah, I mean, I think giving a talk is really hard, because there's so many threats as a presenter. Like, you are faced by an audience. You are aware of how much they're engaged or not, which is, fortunately, if it's online, we don't see the faces of the others so much, so maybe it's good. But like, for example, in the real setting, we see them, so that's something, and we have time. I don't know how many minutes we're left, and then I know like I have to finish these slides and I have to say everything I wanted in the notes. So this is like, you can only like you cannot make it better than what is prepared. That's a problem. Like you can do the presentation and achieve what you prepared, but you cannot be better than that.
Yeah.
Or you fail.
No, that's the literally meaning of what entropy is in terms of physics. You cannot be, that's entropy somehow.
Yeah, you can increases or decreases, but they can't
you cannot be more than infinity. You cannot be more than infinity. Infinity is just is something constant. Anyway, so that's what you're saying.
Yeah, and it's also for the performance in general that if even if it's like structure improvisation, whatever, you cannot. Well, there's sometimes magic happens. I don't know.
Well, what kind of magic? Like computer magic? What degree of magic?
The
Black
performance
magic?
like it's better than what it was meant to be. I don't know.
What you mean the practices?
Not like a performance in general.
In general.
Like a theater performance, for example. That's.
I mean, but I don't know. But like we have this conversation at some point. I think like with installations, like when I started working with media, so because I come from dance, like dance choreography, and 5 years ago I started working with media. Then my dream was work with installations. So then once I started working with installations, then I realized, okay, this is hardware. So working with hardware is so hardware based. So many things that just hardware. That in a way, like I see, like installations are like the opera for what I see is the classical art. An installation is the space when we have the means to create a ground where you can make it something that it blends different fields in a way. That's the opera and classical art. That's how I see like installations. And that's something. I mean, I still work with installations, but it's more with collectives, like the six collectives that we create this. Yeah. So. But I'm more interested right now in diving net art. That's actually the place that we are. Is net art, glitch art, and it's so more cheap, you guys. I mean, practically speaking, like technically, let's say my thesis in my bachelor was I don't know, it was a technology. I embodied it somehow, and then I tried to propose an installation. But then one of the questions that I have in my research was like, how much visual complexity. How much storytelling, technical complexity, and something else. Anyway, you need to.
That's very convincing.
Yeah.
But I think what I want to say is like hardware is art.
Hardware is art.
And you can fail, but the computers won't perform better than what you expect, I guess. Like if you make Unity sync and you run it and it's better than actually this happens with generative art actually. Like you prepare a program and the computer does something. It's like a performative thing. And it's sometimes very different from what you predict or what you expect. And that's nice, but of course if you try to aim for a specific aesthetic, like I want line here and colors there, like often with a program it's very difficult and you get disappointed. And I think that's the kind of way of like working as like what you picture as like really concretely and try to do it with hardware or program or whatever, with a technological thing or even with a body. That's just everything becomes stiff. But if we just like say that we do something with computer and with dance, then like that's what we do in the practice, and that's really rich. And also, like, it can become something that is more. That's how we give agency to the tools. That's what we then need.
What do you say, like, give agency to the tools? That's nice. I mean, that's the first.
I thought like you would say that.
But actually, I thought that was very nice. I think we never spoke like that. But there was this guy that I met in Ars Electronica, one of the founders, and he was speaking about this thing of micro performativity. And basically it's a similar way to say what we call in our concept elements. It's basically how you give agency for the agents that happens in the performance. From his point of view, was from a biological point of view. But yeah, so yeah, I think that's interesting. Anyway, so I think I was saying like, so in my research, for instance, like at the beginning, it was the final work thesis for my bachelor is like 1 year. And the first 6 months, I was like researching high-end images, you know, like working with 3D images, like really high-end images. But then after I realized that it was not necessary.
Why?
Because the medium is the message, as Marshall McLuhan says, meaning that it's just the content. I mean, this is working towards content, and that actually or utilizing in a functional way the dance in a 3D software. You can do the other way around. That's what we call about functionality. You can have functional technology in the service of dance. Say that a simple example is that you use projection mapping to enhance the dance, right? That's functional. And then you can have the other way around. When you use the dance movements in a 3D software with a Kinect, because there's just nice data to create something. That's functional. What we do, so we said in short that best practice is a clear form of communication between technology and bodies. So it's everything in between. It's not dance, but also it's not video. It's everything somehow in between, but it's also not functional.
But is art functional?
Is what?
No, sorry, that was the reason.
Art functional?
Yeah. Good question. But I think the problem is that art is not something like ideal thing, but you need like physical thing to be art. You know, like you need a canvas, for example. You can just paint. That's not really bad. Let's say you just paint, but you need to purchase the canvas, and then there's like probably art of making canvas, and that's something functional. You cannot just be probably you can be an artist making straight canvas that is not functional. But what am I saying?
I don't know.
But there is something functional that supports the art to be tangible.
I can understand. Thank you.
Like if the computers are working,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
then we cannot do digital art. Even if you say that we do whatever crazy stuff.
You can. VR bodies. This is flesh. So we don't live in metaphysics. This is for real.
Unfortunately.
So far.
I think we should really acknowledge what is the functional part.
What is the functional part of it?
We have to
Of what?
thank Intel for making CPU. I don't think so, but I don't thank Microsoft for making Windows, but it has to be there, and that cannot have this queer discourse of technology and body in Windows to make our life better. Or maybe it is actually. I don't know. But I think Windows has so many bugs, and that makes it somehow more organic. No. I don't know what I'm saying. But we use tools.
You know what is cool actually somehow is that SED is like this is nonsense somehow. Like whatever. Frame it as everybody is. Somehow it's like that we have been invited like more often than to speak or to share these things in like mainstream festivals, say the Impulse Dance or now here. So I'm just wondering because like does this matter? In the sense, just in a positive way, like
It matters. But you mean that to be acknowledged to
I don't know, this is nothing in relation with us in a way. It's just I think does this matter? All the things that we just said, all the 140 hours of content in YouTube, the academic paper, all the labor, all the fun, all the travel, does it matter?
How, like, is it not meaningful, but it doesn't matter? Like, not even meaningful or not, but is it something or not? I think so, but sorry to skip your question, but I was just thinking, like, what if these festivals, with all of these things we said, like, because what if things are not functional? Like, you go to an exhibition that has nonsense visual art that has nothing that interacts, it just flickers, but maybe that's, actually some people do that.
No, but this, I don't know how to, there's like normativity comes from, yeah, you need basics, like, I mean, somehow the
What's the basics?
What is the basics? The basics like what the white man is telling me to do somehow, and then somehow me as a person that I grew up in Colombia, I assume also, and as the rest of us in different places, it's just life basically how it's being given to us. That's normal. That's being normal. And because normal was not somehow giving me space to be, then I have to find my own spaces, and one of those spaces is the practice.
Yeah, because like a bit more concretely speaking, like I was imagining, like we try to frame what we do in a way that people can understand. For example, we practice this, but we can frame it as a performance as well, so that you can understand that it's a performance, that something happens for the duration.
Yeah.
But that's the difficult thing. Like if we don't do that, if we do the practice, we do the chat, like we upload online, we don't do installation, we don't do performance, then no festival can have us. And like, but it's so meaningful for us what we are doing, but it cannot be acknowledged because no one can frame it. Because festivals are like here you now so kind that you gave us this 1 hour, but not always.
We have to
we can do this at TED Talk.
We have this kind of like two applications that people answer like, we really like what you guys do, but we don't know what to do with it.
It happened once, yes. Like it happened that we applied and they liked it, but they don't know how to show it.
What is that? I mean, where is this a video? I mean, there's 140 hours of video, so I don't know. It's like I cannot select one video. It's a framework. That's why I think I will. Okay, so then I will agree with you. What you said is it's funny. Like, so the practice is not a performance, but like to communicate with other people, it is a performance. But if you go to the academic paper, it's not a performance because the practice is the promise of something yet to come. It's not yet there. The practice only is as dance itself. Dance as it only happens in the moment. Before and after, there is just thoughts about dance, video, whatever you want. But this dance at the core is an embodied experience. So in that sense, what we try to do is we are not working towards one last performance, but it's just a practice. It's the promise of something yet to come every time by practicing the best practices in contemporary dance.
So for the communication, we can, maybe for the next edition of New Now, we can say that we do performance, but then I think that's kind of design problem or like, marketing aspect of it. But then what I'm interested is, does it affect us how to approach the practice? Because now we're conscious that sometimes we frame still this as a performance. Then it's no longer like pure practice. Or can we still keep it as a pure practice? We just sometimes do like nonsense chat, but we sell it as a performative lecture, performative performance, that's not stupid.
But now we're working in the hybrid performance. And now we're like probably maybe we can go work in Future Lab in Ars Electronica to keep developing this. So yeah. That's the performative aspect of it. That's the practice. That's just what we call that the hybrid performance. And I think we have to close soon. So. No, but yeah, I think
You don't have the closing line.
maybe we can do like in the chat. Normally, when we invite, we try to find a hashtag. Probably we love hashtags.
I would like to use totally failed, but we used it before. Hashtag totally failed. Well, hashtag you now 21. Oh, is it 2021 or 21? You now 2021. I will write it in.
Yeah.
Well, I hope we will not be kicked out from the festival. We're saying nice things.
21.
Or is it 20? I just put both. That's a hashtag, like art of hashtag. That is, if you're not sure, just put everything, and then you can even say the next.
Okay.
And please visit my YouTube channel and like the video and subscribe.
You can find it there through the main website. Then you can find.
Link is somewhere.
Oh yeah.
That's really bad marketing.
If you website and you find archive. Yes, you can.
Have a seat, please. You know what good news? We can talk a little bit.
Yes.
Because our next last presentation will
Start a little bit later.
Okay.
So, what I wanted to ask you, and then you please ask, I was really thinking about you questioning also the concept of festivals or the concept of gatherings like this, which I think is also a very productive thought. So you said at the beginning we were breathing, then you said, I like if nobody says something. So you have the Phyllis who are sitting here, program conceptionists who are sitting here. So do you have suggestions how to, create a festival where we have more experiment space or spaces, because this is a very formal format. I'm moderating, then we have presentations, and then we have Q&A. So I think when I saw you and listened to you, I thought you might get some good suggestions from you.
Yeah, for sure. First, it's as long as the white man can give space to other ones who is not white man, give space. That's the first one.
I agree.
Yeah, that's the first step. We have to give visibilities for bodies who cannot have space. When I arrived at Leeds as electronic, and then I realized after a while, there's this place called Interface Cultures. It's like the most experimental place in Leeds. And then I realized it was somebody from Iran, so I was really looking forward to see her work. And then her work was so clean, that it was so broken heart, that I felt like, oh my God, she's being domesticated, as I feel out now when I do my applications. I just learned to behave in a white culture. I moved to Belgium 13 years ago. So this is just life. But anyway.
I was talking to Sibel, just before, exactly about the same thing. So just define behaving in a white culture. So also the concepts in a white culture are perhaps not really all fitting into cultures or into behavioral patterns which we would like to see, perhaps? Is it something like that?
Like the question before, so it's kind of related, but I wouldn't say it's white or not. And I think it's more about, for us, what's important is that we have a space for failure. And festivals, they expect that everything is good in a way, because that's why you invite speakers and artists or artworks. But the one experience we had was last year at Node Forum for Digital Arts. And my role was to do unconference. But that was like asked by the conference to do unconference. And they didn't ask me to do anything specific, but they have made a playground for us in the Mozilla Hubs, and we can organize events, doing performances, random things. And that was really nice for me because I was responsible, but if there's like only like 1, 2 people came, that's also okay because it's not even a failure because sometimes it gives like space for like more intimate conversation and something that would not happen in a regular festival can happen in these spaces. So like failure is actually not really failure, and I think there are ways to afford these like spaces for like more like emerging artists to experiment in this, even in like institutional frameworks, and that's more about I don't know how, but I think we just need a more discourse to make this happen.
I agree. I mean, failure culture, we're discussing this very often, and especially in the context of funding. There's not, this kind of events or even projects are always funded. So we need this criteria, failure culture, which we discuss a lot, but it's still not common. Both of you, would you, if you want to make a closure statement, and then I open up the discussion, or shall we?
No, thank you.
No.
What?
Thank you.
Closure statement. If you want to say something, then
Yeah, I understood, but you said no, so that's why I felt like.
no, I said
why?
like no, not for me.
Why?
Maybe I just have something.
You have to
I don't know. Yes.
Go ahead.
Like how long do I have? 1 minute?
I don't know. You'll get it.
Yeah. Like this time.
But you feel it at ease.
Yeah. No, like I think it was a bit kind of, we have to be really brave to do it this format. Like I just want to say, I can do presentation with slides. Like if I really, I used to do that. And then at one point I felt so uncomfortable and I really have pressure and I have to talk what I need to present. But then after the talk I forgot this to, something to say. And then I started doing another presentation that is basically like a wiki, that I have a bunch of information that I want to talk, and I just go through and depends on my mood, I construct the story on the fly. So today it was even more experimental, and I'm glad that people stayed here, or maybe people are looking for the keynote, but any case, people are here, and we, maybe what we said is kind of really nonsense, but we do have, we do appreciate the media art culture, contemporary dance culture, and we acknowledge reference, and we just want to make it better, and contribute. I'm not saying that it's bad, but we want to contribute, but sometimes we kind of, it sounds arrogant, but we try not to, and if you have any feedback, please write in the document. We appreciate it.
Feedback, one applause. And then I didn't want to spare you out. I just wanted to interesting to sit here and talk to both of you. So anybody else? Does anybody else have a question or a comment? You want to say something? But I didn't get it.
I say plenty of things all
But, yes.
No, I love thinking about the space of failure, simply where I'm very comfortable with stuff. And the option to fail always, just kind of diving around that space. How often we have an hour to just kind of spend with that. I think that's why I like the time to just kind of.
So I just repeat because you couldn't hear it. So
Sorry,
yeah. There's a microphone. Yeah. So she likes simply the like to include it in the spaces. I think that was a very, very important suggestion and mention. Thank you very much, both of you. And it was brave, it was good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. See you later. So, okay. So now our next and last guest is here. And I just ask you, have you ever seen a second moon? Ever? Nobody is nodding. I hope you, dear audience, in front of the screens, haven't seen a second moon, but it's time to catch up. We have some great support for this purpose because Elliot Wood is here with us. He's a digital media artist, technologist, curator, and educator from Manchester with an academic background in physics. Elliot founded the Seoul-based art and design studio Kimchi and Chips together with Mimi Sao, and they are known for discovering novel interactions between people, media materials, and exploring new technical and artistic paradigms. And here we can, and I'm really happy about that, we can present a real world premiere. After 6 years of development, their installation, Another Moon, celebrates its world premiere at New Now here. The story behind it is, originally it was supposed to premiere at the Olympics in Japan. You know why it didn't happen. This digital monument, Another Moon, celebrates nothing less than the end of the coal era. And it will be visible at night under clear skies. The outdoor installation is built in the Missionary Park, and I'm so excited and looking forward to catching a sight. So after Elliot's keynote, we can all go and have a look. We are really delighted that he's not here as yet, or he can't, we are not ready, but we take a small break, I think 5 minutes, and then you can see Elliot on the stage, and I will ask him after the presentation one last question, and then we look at Another Moon. Have fun.